Hello and welcome to the Incursion podcast, your weekly podcast all about indie games and their creators on occasion when I'm not lazy. It's super exciting. Yeah, I really love being a lazy person. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Vaughn Hyde, alongside the big Josh boy.
Ooh, nice. That was a long one there.
It was exciting.
I know. It's always exciting when Josh Boy's in the house.
I hate that I keep saying exciting. I think there's been several podcasts where I've said it several times within the first 5 minutes.
I mean, this game, I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. This show is just exciting, you know? You gotta hype the crowd up, all right? You gotta give them something to really grab their attention at the start. So just exciting, you know?
And it's not false advertising since the podcast is legitimately exciting.
It's true. 100%. Yeah. 5 out of 5 doctors agree.
Really?
Yeah.
Doctors of all people. All right.
Doctors.
Like Dr. Dre. He's like an audio doctor.
Oh, hell yeah. Dude, if Dr. Dre was listening to me, I'd be so fucking hyped. That guy, he knows this shit. Fucking Music Man. Fucking so good. Anyway.
So, on this week's podcast, we're going to talk about Beat Saber, some Beat Saber news, Bloodstained, Moon.
Oh, come on, man! You gotta get on those transitions.
Well, I'm not trying to transition a video. I'm just talking about shit.
You can't drop that. All right, anyway, go.
And we're also talking about No Man's Sky, Dead Cells, and all sorts of other indie games and news. But first, I want to ask you, Josh, what have you been playing this week?
What have I been playing? Well, a lot more of what we talked about last week. So I finished SteamWorld Quest, and I tweeted at you, so you already know this, but one of the things that I was interested in, we were talking about, SteamWorld Quest, it takes so long. How do people beat it so quick? And I ended up beating it in 16 hours, which was much lower than the different people that you were like freaking out about.
So I was like 16 hours, so I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, so I beat it on the normal difficulty because there's 3 difficulties and I always pick usually normal just because I didn't want to rage, but I feel like I should have, because honestly at the end of the day I never died. Like there was never a game, like I don't know what the game over screen looks like, so I probably should have had it at the harder difficulty, but I didn't know. But like I went through it, and at the end I had the 16-hour log time, and I was like, oh shit. And I was like, this is a lot quicker than I thought it was supposed to be, because you like hyped me up for it, because you were like, yeah, there's gonna be like 22 hours or something from like the person who reviewed it from Handsome Phantom, and I was like, oh, okay, good, I'm at like 12 hours, so I got plenty of time left to play this game. And then like 4 hours later and I'm done, and I was like, oh, never mind.
Fucked. You're like, wow, false advertising.
I was like, you motherfucker. But no, I definitely, so I'm writing up my review right now. I'm actually thinking of doing a video review because I gotta stop being lazy. But I honestly, like, throughout everything, there's little things here and there that I wasn't too crazy about, but overall it's a solid game, man. It's really good. Like I said last week, I recommend it to anyone who's into RPGs or card-based battle games, but not only to those individuals, just because of the way they do the mechanics for it. It's like I said, very RPG light-esque, but not in a way that like waters it down, but in a way that makes it more inviting to those who maybe aren't seasoned veterans to the series, or not series, but that style of gameplay. There's some things I wish that could be incorporated a little bit more. One of my favorite parts of it was at the end, there was a like an arena battle where you would have to battle monsters back to back in these just, you know, face-to-face challenges where you would have basically 5 matches you would fight in a row, and your health would be, you know, the same as you started from that last match. So if you made it through one of them, but then you get to the next and you get killed, then you would have to restart the entire, you know, arena. And in games, that's one of my favorite things, is having those arena battles. And the reason why is because they'll do stuff like they had little challenge modes. So each card has a certain amount of energy that they'll use. They'll either add energy or they'll expend energy. And so like one of the arena matches was you can only have a pool of 3 energy. So it made your strategy change, because I have usually a card that I run where it was like I would build up all of my energy and you could have like 10 energy units. And then I would use a card that would expend all of them for like a times amount of attacks that they would do for that specific card. So I would basically just destroy people by huddling up, building my defenses, making sure that I'm building up that energy and then unleashing it. But that strategy was basically thrown out the window because now they basically shit all over that, and they're like, nope, you can't use that. So I had to change that up, and it really forces you to change out your cards, change out the style that you play. And I wish they would have incorporated that more in not just the arena, but the actual game entirely. Like, I think they could have done that in each different chapter or each different level, like have some kind of unique element to it as you get farther in. I would have loved to see something like that to really push you to kind of experiment more. But overall, I had a blast playing it. And I definitely, like I said, recommend it.
So I thought I might have misled you, but what the reviewer said for Handsome Phantom, he contacted the publisher, or he contacted the developer Image and Form and spoke to their PR rep, and they told he was like had his mind blown because apparently Kotaku finished it in 10 hours.
Wow.
And the PR rep said, I'd be surprised if you could get through in less than 18 hours. The dev team has almost universally taken 20 hours on the lowest difficulty and 25 on the hardest. And then we're talking about dev math. The reviewer then showed a screenshot of his amount of hours played, and he did 20 hours, but I also don't know what difficulty he played on.
Right.
And then he said that the dev sent him a message again saying, I think on the fast side, some people have completed it around 15 hours, so just about the amount you have.
Yep.
And it also said, I can only assume those who completed it even faster than that played on easy and rushed through everything. I know on my multiple playthroughs that I was only about halfway finished 10 hours. Yeah, they said the fastest first playthrough was 16 hours.
Oh, see? Look at me.
Supposedly. So yeah, apparently you're about there.
All right.
Yeah.
Speedrunner, here I come.
Yeah, you're obviously a pro.
I know. I'm going to be in GDQ. Watch for my...
I mean, we've already covered the fact that you are a pro gamer, dude.
Yeah, we got to get off that. I don't know
why it's so surprising.
I would get shit on so hard by actual pros.
I should just message the guy who reviewed it and be like, Josh says get good. You suck.
Josh,
that's how you didn't
Josh says get good. You're like, who?
Just no context. Just Josh says get
Josh
good.
Josh says it. All right. Come at me, bro.
So games I've been playing this week, I actually for some reason just purchased a shitload of games for handheld. So I ended up purchasing a DS Lite so that I could play non-region locked games, because I bought a European version of a game called Sola to Robo because it was $25 cheaper than buying it buying the English American version. So I purchased that, and I bought the Solo 2 Robo a while ago. So I got a Nintendo DS Lite, and then I found a bunch of other old games that I wanted to play at my local video game store. So I bought Robopon 2, I bought Shaman King, I bought what else did I buy?
Wait, so you bought it before you bought the DS Lite?
Yeah. It had really cool cover art.
You mother... Oh my god, although I will admit I did do that for a game back in the day, but still, I know it's just because you buy everything on a whim.
I definitely do. So what I do is I'll go through my local video game store. If it's under $20, I don't really fret. If it's $20 and over, I give it a week or two. And if it's still there, then I think I'm destined to have it. It's like Manifest Destiny. So I just buy it. And then I was like, I don't know if I'm going to get to play it. I don't know if I'm going to get to actually playing this right now. So then probably a month later, I actually bought a DS Lite where I could play it.
I'm going to be really honest with you. I think you have a problem.
I'm going to be really honest with you. I still haven't played it. Instead,
I think you have a fucking problem.
Instead, I played some Robopon 2, and I played some Fossil Fighters Champions. This is a good game, dude.
I feel like you're talking a different language. I have no idea what games you're telling me.
Just look them up. They're sweet. And then I also at Walmart they had Puzzles and Dragons Z. So you could buy it on 3DS and then a little so it comes in a package that also includes on the cartridge. It also includes like a Mario Puzzles and Dragons kind of a deal. So I purchased that, and I've been playing some Puzzles and Dragons Z, which has really cool like hand drawn like art style. But then it also has, in your overworld and everything, it's got this really, really beautiful like 16-bit art style. I really like it. It's a lot of fun. If I'm being honest, it's a totally mediocre game. I just think it looks pretty.
Yeah, that sounds like another thing you always do. You and Errol always make me feel like such a shitty gamer when you guys can spout like so many weird fucking game names, and I'm always like, I have no idea what's going on right now.
Well, I mean, it's definitely a taste thing, because you pull out stuff like what am I even? See, I can't even think of the game's names right now. Like there's certain card games just naturally.
Of
because
course,
you're the biggest fan
games.
of card games ever. What is that one that you played? That was like, it was like a tower one, and there
Slay
was a
the
heart.
Spire.
Yeah, Slay the Spire.
Oh,
you've
yeah.
talked about a bunch of different indie games that I knew like nothing about, but then I just find some like random ass fucking games in a local video game store. So it's honestly the entirety of my discovery of video games is based on if it has cool cover art. That's it. Yeah. That's the secret. If you want me to buy a video game, just make sure it's got really cool cover art, and I'll be fine. I'll buy it.
Didn't they ever tell you not to judge a game by its cover art?
No, that's exactly what I do.
I think that's a saying, an ancient saying.
See, I sometimes follow that, and then I buy a game like Elex, which has terrible cover art. It's balls. That sucks my dick and balls.
Whoa.
It sucks. Yeah, that game sucks balls.
Whoa.
Because have you ever played Elex?
I have no idea what you're talking about. No.
So it's developed by Piranha Bytes, who also made they made some other video game series that I cannot remember what it's called. God damn it.
Gothic, Risen.
Yeah, Risen is what I was thinking of. But yeah, they made Gothic and other things. So they made Elex. And it's supposed to, like, its controls and everything, its difficulty settings are supposed to mimic, like, a Souls-like. Mm-hmm. But at times, it's incredibly easy. And to other times, it's just fucking, like, it's not, like, punishing to the point where you still feel like it's fair, like a Souls-like game. Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
You know what's
weird?
Like,
okay, I'm dead.
You know what's weird is I'm looking up, and this is a little bit of a foreshadowing for our question. I'm looking at online, Steam has it as mostly positive. It's got like a 7 out of 10, but IGN has marked this as a 4.9.
Yeah. It's a balls game. It sucks huge balls. Like, they might have updated. Okay, so yeah, we'll get into this more when we get onto our review question, especially because of like this week's event, and Elex actually ties into that. So make sure you remind me. Yeah, you're my new secretary.
Okay,
just do that.
Aye, boss.
But I think it's about time we actually get into our first news story of today and stop talking about Elex and just shitty games in general, because this is a good game, Josh. It's a good one.
Is it?
Yeah, this is written over on Polygon. It is by Owen S. Good, and it is Beat Saber makers celebrate birthday with early build for free. Free stuff is always nice. Yeah, I've heard that free stuff makes it better. A friend of mine, Avery, really likes free stuff. He hates coconut, but anything that's coconut that he gets for free, he'll eat, which I don't understand. It just blows my mind.
Oddly specific that it...
It's because it happened yesterday.
Oh, okay. I was like, is it
today.
Only coconut stuff? Like anything else free he won't eat? It's just...
No, he also really hates mint, but once we went out to go get lunch, and like he literally, it was kind of weird. He had said he hates mint. Mm-hmm. Less than like 5 seconds later, we had an offer from like the one of the employees of this restaurant that they accidentally made an additional mint shake. He jumped on it. He was like, "I'll take it." And then the whole time he was eating it, he was like, "This is so gross," and then he just kept eating it.
What a fucking dick, dude!
I was like, "What are you doing?"
He's taking my delicious mint shakes away from me by being so greedy.
Apparently, yeah. So our first news story Beat Saber, of course. So let's get into this. The makers of hit rhythm VR game Beat Saber observed the first, and I really don't like it when they say observed, because it always makes me think they like watched.
I mean, you
from
can
like
watch
a
your
corner.
relationship from afar, you know?
They watched their first anniversary with its of its launch by making an early build free.
Yeah, they
I don't
watch
think that makes
themselves do
sense.
it. They have eyes.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Yeah,
see?
they've got eyes everywhere. They're like the government
It's
or the Illuminati.
Beat Saber for government? Beat Saber for president, 2020.
If anything, Beat Saber for the Illuminati. You know what I mean? Just checks out. That math adds up in my book.
Who's voting for the Illuminati?
I don't know. I don't think it's a democratic process.
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that's how it works.
It's about like you got to get the word out, and then the Illuminati sees that Beat Saber, which I should be saying Beat Games, the developers Beat Saber, should then be the Illuminati, and then they induct them. That just makes sense.
All right. Well, this has been quite a tangent.
Yeah, it checks out. So the makers released an early build available for free on Steam VR. I lost my train of thought. The version that they released is called Beat Saber Origins. It's a 3-year-old build, and it represents the game after about a month of development, and its soundtrack consists of just one temporary song. Beat Games said everything is a little bit rough around the edges, but the core is there and the game is playable. Yeah, I mean that's pretty much all.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually had to say. See, but I appreciate that that Polygon included more, because it's not just like 3 lines of text. So, thank you very much, Polygon.
I mean, it's not like we've
You
ever
guys
seen
are
that
great
before,
people.
though, right?
Shut up. So have you played Beat Saber yet? I don't own a VR headset. I really want to get one specifically for Beat Saber because I think it'll make me less fat.
Oh, well, honestly, that's
I've heard it's a good
really
workout.
good reasoning. Because, I mean, that's not the reason why, but I keep seeing Beat Saber. I don't know why. Like, recently, I got into this big, long rant of, like, watching YouTube videos. It happens to me every once in a while where I just get on this, like, long trail and I'm like, well, I'm going to watch this for, like, the rest of the night. And I got on to watching, do you know Crab Rave? The song?
Totally.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
okay.
No.
So I love that song, and I was like, I wonder if there's
I
any
was
like
joking,
weird.
by the way. I've never heard this song before.
Oh, you're such a damn liar. Okay, when we're done here, listen to Crab Rave. It's amazing. Big popular internet thing. It's pretty stupid, but it's just a bunch of like 3D crabs dancing on a beach.
Does it have anything to do with an N64 controller?
No, not at all. But it could.
Weird.
If
Okay.
someone, edited it, but I will not do that. Anyway, so I was listening to that, and then I got on this weird tangent of someone playing it on Beat Saber, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And then I just got on this weird tangent where I started watching people play Beat Saber, and I was like, this game's fucking crazy. It's like, it's weird to me because as a person who used to play a rhythm-based game, I used to play DDR and ITG, which is called In the Groove. So that's with my feet. And it's basically the arrows coming up at, intervals where I have to hit it based on the rhythm. And it was one of those things where, like, I would look at those arrows and I would look at that and I'd be like, yep, everything makes sense. My brain has, like, tracked everything because I've played it for so long. I've gotten so good at it. And people would always say to me, like, how could you possibly see these arrows? And I'm like, I don't know. It just comes to me. Like, my feet just move where they need to. Like, I don't even think about it. It's like a reaction.
Yeah, it's just muscle memory.
It's just muscle memory. Yes.
I knew you'd catch me saying that.
So my muscles are keeping up with what my eyes see, even though it's like not as good. But this was one of those things where I got to experience that again because I'm just watching this and I'm like, how the hell do these people see this? It's like incredible the way the arrows on the boxes are so tiny, and they're just like, nope, I know where it is, and they're just like smacking it and going crazy, and it looks so freaking cool. And I have a computer that can run VR. I just haven't bought the headset because I'm cheap. But I keep watching these videos and I'm like, man, I really want to get Beat Saber. Beat Saber is one of the reasons why I'm thinking of just getting a VR set just for this alone. It's just because I want to get back into a rhythm-based game, and I feel like this is a great opportunity just because of how cool it is that you could put any song in for like the PC version.
If there's anything that I'm gleaming from the story you just told, is that you're afraid to look like Star Wars kid, dude. You just haven't bought it yet because you just don't wanna look like a weirdo.
No, not at all. I was talking to my wife about it. I was like, look at this. Like, I was showing her because she doesn't know shit about games, and I was like, look, isn't this cool? Like, this is kind of crazy. And she's like, wouldn't you look like an idiot playing that? And I was like, yeah, really.
Like, they
dumb.
look like they're having seizures, and you're like, yeah, it's awesome.
she's like, what would that look like? And I was like, well, you would basically see nothing, but I would see everything, and you would just see me flailing around.
You just punch her in the face on accident. You're like, oh my god.
Domestic abuse comes in many forms.
That's true. You try to explain that to the cops. You're like, I accidentally punched her in the face while I was lightsabering boxes.
Yeah,
and like
I had to keep my combo up, officer.
I couldn't stop to make sure she was okay. She just had to take punch after punch.
I thought it was just a background drop of some woman screaming that they put in the song.
It just that checks out. Really, I don't know why most people don't just use that. And then the cops are like, "You don't actually have Beat Saber," and they're like, "You got me.
You got me." I tried to fool you. No, I don't hit my wife, but I am. I am.
Thanks for clarifying.
Just to clarify, but I am super excited about this just because, like, I think it's really cool when developers do this. This obviously means like nothing to most consumers because, like, who's really gonna freak out about one temporary song in a buggy ass, like, dumbed down version of a product they already have? But I just think it's really cool for one, historical purposes of like seeing how things develop, just because you get to see really where they started, where their roots were, like a month in of actually developing this. And just because for anyone who doesn't have Beat Saber, they get like kind of a version, it's kind of like a demo into it just to see what it's like and to see kind of the mechanics, and then being like, well, if any of this might be good, I might as well get the game because, you know, certain reasons that they fall in love with. Plus, it's just good, like a good tech demo for like the VR space anyway. But I just think it's really cool because, you know, they didn't have to do this or do anything for their year anniversary. They could have just been like, yep, it's a year. Give us, you know, more money for more games, whatever. But it's just a little thing to keep them in the market loop and to keep people talking about them.
Yeah, it's very exciting. Beat Saber has put out a lot of different stuff. I'm wondering if this mode is going to come to PlayStation 4, since it's only, it seems currently it is only on the Steam version of the game, and I don't see anywhere in here where it says it's going to come to PlayStation 4.
I don't think they would, because realistically that build never had PlayStation in mind, and they would have to do a lot to get it up and running. I think this was probably just an easy, like, turn this into an EXE that can be dumped into a file. Like, I think they would have to do a lot more work to actually make it manageable on PS4.
Yeah, that is a good point. We've talked several times on this podcast about why things couldn't be ported to Switch, and it's because of control issues. Mm-hmm. So I imagine, yeah, the same exact thing does happen probably.
Can you imagine trying to do this with the Switch and like holding the fucking the Switch screen to your head and trying to move around with the Joy-Cons?
Like that stupid elephant trunk thing that they're putting out?
Yeah.
That Labo kit that you can make into VR?
Yeah.
So dumb. And everybody's complaint is that it just doesn't have a strap.
I know. I feel like that would be so bad for your neck, though, if it had a strap.
Yeah, it's like, it looks like a 40-pound weight attached to your head.
I mean, yeah, you'd have some strong neck muscles at the end. Or, I'm sorry,
Dude,
muscles.
You can't see me, but my neck muscles are huge. Like, I've got a thick neck. It's huge.
I don't like the way you said that at all.
Speaking of not liking things, our next news story is over on Twinfinite. It is the new Bloodstained Ritual of the Night trailer shows off improved graphics and gives us a release date. Honestly, I'm not going to read much. Fuck, dude. God damn it.
Well, if anything...
We just need to stop doing this podcast so early when I get home. I'm just a mush mouth shithead.
Need to work on those mouth muscles.
Yeah, all the mouse muscles. So I'm not going to really... Fuck, dude, I said it again. I'm not going to read a lot of this article. I'm just going to skip to the bottom. So the release date is June 18th for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC via Steam and GOG. And you're going to have to wait an additional week on the Nintendo Switch, which is June 25th. This game looks really cool. I'm actually very excited for it. And the new update looks so much better. People, like, in the trailer that they put out, they call out a lot of comments that said that it looked like a bad mobile game. And I was like, oh my God, it's so true. This game looked like dog shit.
Yeah. Yeah, it was weird. Like I said before, before we started recording, I never was like that into this game. Like, I thought it would be cool, and I was probably eventually going to pick it up. But after seeing the new the new graphics to it, like, it does seem very into my play style, and it just looks a lot nicer. And one of the things, like, if you haven't watched this video, like, you have to. I loved the way they did it. Like, just the trailer alone was awesome. The way that when he was like, when the tweet comes up that basically says this looks like poop. And so they have old versus new for like the majority of the video, but it starts out with new and poop on the other side as the label. And it cracked me up. I was like, what? But like, it definitely looks so much better. And I think this was a smart way to basically market this, because like I said, for me specifically, I'm definitely backing this game now. Like, this is probably a day one purchase for me, just because of the hype trailer for it and the fact that it does look so much nicer.
Yeah, it looks way nicer. It's so weird. If they put it out physically, it'd be a day one purchase for me. I have an issue with digital games where I generally don't purchase them day one because I just forget about it. It's so easy to forget about digital purchases for me. I don't know why.
I don't know. How do you usually get your physical copies?
I just go to the store. I really like to go to stores and walk around.
Do you put like a thing, like a calendar, like invite on for yourself?
I see where you're going with this, that I could just do the same calendar invite in my phone for digital versions of games, but
it's true. You know, we literally do a podcast
easy
on these video games. Like, we could do that on the moment that we're going through all this stuff. You know, it's pretty easy to do what we're talking about. I'm just saying.
I'm just so involved in the podcast. I can't do anything else, Josh.
Really? That's okay. I can take some stuff off your hands.
So, Ritual of the Night looks very, very good. Did you see that IGN accidentally put out that like wrong tweet that said Bloodstained, what was it, Symphony of the Night?
Oh, no, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and people were like, wait, was this on purpose or on accident? I don't know if this is like an homage of to Castlevania, or if they did that on accident.
They just didn't even realize. Most likely it's the latter. There is some interesting like points that apparently, I think, where was this? There was somewhere that they were showing this game off, and apparently it was running a little buggy. Like the actual dev version of it was apparently overheating. So there is some concerns with that. I think that was for the Switch version. I don't know if that applies to any of the others. But then there was also their excuse was that all of the consoles were stored, and apparently it was just because they were overheating because they were stuck in that box or something like that. I don't know. But I assume that's specifically towards the Switch version. I don't really know. We'll have to see, and hopefully that's not like a thing when it actually is released. But there's actually, what I was surprised at, there's not like a lot of time before this is released. Like, I wasn't expecting that whole revamp graphics-wise, and it still being like, yep, it's coming to June. Like, that's pretty close.
Honestly, I think the reason that's probably the reason that they brought WayForward on to help with development was so that they could change the art style because of this major criticism. Because honestly, if it would have like released with that old art style, people would shit on it.
Yeah, I'm sure. Even if it was well designed, I'm sure just the art from it would make everyone hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Speaking of everyone hating things, our next news story is over on Polygon. It's written by Patricia Hernandez, and it is No Man's Sky Best and Brightest are trying to build a perfect colony. So I'd absolutely recommend you guys hop over to Polygon to read this out, just because we're not going to be going over the entire news article because there's a lot here. I mean, they really didn't do a good job of like condensing this, but it is a fun read. So I definitely recommend it. But so there's a collective of No Man's Sky players known as the Galactic Hub that got together to build like they wanted to build a colony. So they found this one planet which is in like a hazardous zone apparently. So you actually like in these hazardous zones you take damage while you're out just walking around and stuff like that. So you constantly have to revamp your shields. Unless, of course, you're inside your ship or inside a like a vehicle of some kind, then somehow you're just fine. I don't really know how that checks out, but
Vehicle,
I guess it does.
It's got force fields, you know, keeps you safe.
All right, it sounds like just sounds like dumb, but
sounds like dumb. That's that tagline.
So they called their colony Mount Loper, and it actually looks really cool. These guys have already worked on, they've made like road systems, they've made all sorts of different like plots of land. What they're actually doing is to build on this planet, which some people have been kind of dicks about, and they've just started building here anyway, which of course these guys don't own this planet, so it's not the worst thing that's ever happened, and it's not like they can change anything about it. But you have to actually apply to build on this planet, and they have like an application service that you go through, and supposedly they say later in the article that no matter what you'll get approved. They're just doing that so they can keep track of all of the like colonials, all the people who are coming on to like into this colony and building. But it's so cool what the No Man's Sky players are doing. I love this so much. I feel like at least once a month we get some awesome story about the No Man's Sky community doing something fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like the mapping black holes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really cool. So can you kill other players in this game?
Okay, so that's what I was wondering because they said they couldn't do anything about it. I was like, why don't you just shoot him?
Yeah, just shoot him.
Just kill that guy.
Yeah, I mean,
shoot him and steal his shit.
It's not the most peaceful way of dealing with your problems, but it's also a video game, so.
If we're being honest, yeah, if we like colonized a planet and somebody tried to like touch down on that planet and just started building without asking us, we'd probably shoot them. So that just checks out. It's just role playing, really.
That is American history, so.
Yeah. I mean, but instead we
came in
colonized and then we just shot the indigenous peoples.
Well, see, that's the thing is them not shooting them is they should know what happens.
Right.
History tends to repeat itself, right? So they
better
are you
be
even
careful.
An
American? Like you should know that I'm going to shoot you.
I'm going to move in and I'm going to shoot and take your land. See, they're just settling in so they can watch and have the colony build that nice network of homes and houses and whatnot, and then they're just gonna swoop in.
Yeah, there's like people creating like art galas, race tracks, all sorts of other like really cool stuff, not just like housing settlements inside Mount Loper, which it's just so awesome. Apparently there's about 70 players that are in the Galactic Hub. I guess that's supposedly the largest like community in No Man's Sky right now. And I believe the only place that this is actually available is on PC and Xbox One. But the craziest thing about this, and just think about it, No Man's Sky has multiplayer right now, but they said they're like instituting basically like massively multiplayer with No Man's Sky Beyond. Mm-hmm. So you just imagine what kind of crazy shit is going to happen with Beyond. Like this is just with a small community, like relatively small community working together. Imagine what's going to happen when we have like thousands of players working together. We're going to get stories every week that's just like, guess what? No Man's Sky is fucking a utopia. They found their first like crazy ass alien species like in EVE Online.
I know. Yeah. And people are fucking crazy, dude. It seems so weird. I also, anytime this kind of stuff gets like put together, I'm always like, man, I accomplished nothing. Like Granted, this is obviously in a video game, and it's not like they're, doing something like massively out of the ordinary. Like, people got together, and it is something that's insane, but like, it's still a big undertaking, and I'm always like, I don't have enough time in my day to do anything, and these people are like, let's build a society. Like, what the hell? How do you have the time to do this?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So before we move on to the next story, I did want to just shit on somebody real quick. And I feel good because I don't think I've shit on a whole lot of stuff yet. I mean, I shit on Elex, but it's because it's a piece of shit. So it's basically like, did I even do anything to it? No.
I'm going to have to start getting a counter here for you.
For how many times I say shit or just shit on things?
Shit on things, yeah.
Oh, okay.
The word shit is fine. It's just how many times you shit on things.
Oh, well, I mean, eventually I'm going to try to, like, break a record.
Oh,
like,
yeah?
I'm going to try to get in the Guinness Book World Records for just how many times I have personally shit on something in one episode of a podcast.
I don't think that will be the way they phrase it.
It's because they're cowards.
Okay.
So there's a guy in the comments of this article who says part of the or in like parentheses and brackets or the entire problem with No Man's Sky is the lack of any kind of automation. You, the player, have to do everything. Capital and fleet ships should have automated systems for things like say ... Oh, he says ... comma say ... which is just excessive. Getting refueled. You have to build everything, repair everything, make/combine/craft everything. It's tedious and annoying as hell. I would like to say, guess what? You're a fucking frontiersman, dumbass. That's what this game is about. What do you think the people who created, like, America were just like, oh yeah, dude, we didn't have to worry about anything. We didn't cut down trees to build our houses. We just had lumber. No. I mean, I mean, as far as I know in American history, they did not just have lumber readily available. Like, right off the Mayflower. They weren't just like, hey, dude, cool. Take this lumber.
I mean,
fine.
Someone probably cut it first, and then they could have taken it.
I mean, it's very possible, but I imagine all the supplies that they took with them did not include lumber, because that would have really, like, limited what they could take to the New World. But that's just me. I think I'm just being pragmatic, but yeah, I might be being the dumbass, and it turns out they actually did. And hey, even then, you'd still have to build your house, so F you, Ogrotten, whatever your name is.
You tell him, Vaughn.
So our last news story for today is over on Game Informer, and it is written by Joe Juba. That's an awesome
I like
name.
that last name.
I really like that name. It's awesome. Dead Cells is going to mobile this summer. So just you pretty much got it. That's it. It's coming to iPhone and iPad this summer. It doesn't seem like it has a specific date yet, but this is quite exciting. We actually talked about this, I believe, like a couple months ago on the podcast, that was like rumored to possibly be coming to mobile because they accidentally added it to the store and then like took it away from the store. Mm-hmm. And I think we both gave it a second. We're like, whoa, the control scheme on this game is going to be really annoying on mobile, and also, I mean, it would also be really cool on mobile. Just saying.
I think it's great for accessibility. I'm sure there's a lot of people who will be psyched for this who don't have consoles and can easily get it since just about everyone has a phone right now. But I'm still not at all hyped for how this will feel. Like, just looking at the little bit that they show on the trailer of just having like all the skill buttons everywhere and just knowing how mobile games run and how like finicky it can be, I feel like this game will be 10 times harder, which is saying something because this game is already hard. Like, trying to dodge when all you can do is like swipe your finger against the phone and like smudge everything up, like I don't know. I just feel like it's gonna be impossible. Maybe they've figured it out. I don't know. I don't play a lot of mobile games, so maybe I'm just bad at them. But
the pro gamer Josh, the big Josh boy, is bad at mobile games.
I must admit, I've failed you.
That's crazy, dude. Yeah, I definitely agree. The control scheme from the small snippets I've seen does not look good.
No.
They have like their button layout is like just all across the board. It's like fucking crazy. It's just everywhere.
Yeah, I feel like you're just gonna be, like, yeah, you're gonna be mashing all over where the enemies are. Like, I feel like it's gonna get so chaotic because you can't really look at the screen half the time.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool, and I hope this does a lot to like sell even more copies of Dead Cells, which Motion Twin has already sold a lot of copies.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, of course, shoot for the stars. But if anything, I feel like this might actually, like, it might be a detriment to Dead Cells versus it actually being like an advantage.
Yeah, I'd love to see how much they actually get revenue-wise based on this versus like how much it costs to get, because they used a third-party developer for porting it, right?
Developer, Motion Twin, and publisher Played Diogenes, something like that. They partnered to port it to mobile devices, so I think they still developed it.
Okay.
They just have like a publisher
helped them out
publisher.
with it. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because the publishing on the consoles was done by Merge, I believe, or at least that was the like physical version. They might have independently published it.
I'm not sure off the top of my head, but I guess maybe it's not as big of a deal then. But I mean, that's still a lot of development time to put that in, when they could have been, say, working on DLC content or, you know, something else that could have potentially got them more money in other avenues.
Yeah, this is special. They did just put out the, I think, Rise of Giants or something like that DLC, the, like, free DLC, so yeah. They're definitely working hard and they're making some cool shit, so I'm very excited for this. I don't know how much the work they put into the mobile version, but I hope it goes really well for them. But if I'm being honest, I just don't think it will. It looks like, for a game like this hard and this in a game that needs to be like, it's so specific and you have to be pixel perfect in it. I feel it's not going to do well on mobile devices, but that's just me. I think I really want to talk about Cram and stuff. So let's pop into News Cram.
Cram.
So today on News Cram, we've got quite a few news stories to talk about. First, over on IGN, they list the PlayStation Plus games that you can get in May. That would be Overcooked and What Remains of Edith Finch, I believe. That's pretty awesome. Over on Twinfinite, they have an article out about Swords of Ditto, celebrating its new expansion with a new launch trailer, which is pretty awesome. I actually almost bought Swords of Ditto on my Switch the other day, and I was like, oh, you know what? They have it on the PS4, so I can just buy it there. Because the Switch sucks.
Did you
know
get?
What I mean?
Whoa! Ooh, shut your fucking mouth. Did you get it on the PS4 then?
No, I haven't bought it yet.
All right, then fuck you.
I'm serious. It's just, if you release like a physical version of something, I just impulse that buy. I impulse buy that shit like immediately. It's an issue. But digitally, I'm like, wait, it'll go on sale. I'm not too worried about it, because physical has the like possibility to run out. There's a limited amount versus digital copies. I'm like, you'll sell this until the day I die. I'm not too worried about it.
I mean, unless they stop.
That's true. That's very true. Also over on Twinfinite is World of Goo is now free on the Epic Game Store. The next free game coming to the Epic Game Store is Stories Untold. On Twinfinite, on Game Informer, we've got Darkwood comes to consoles later this month. That game looks weird.
Yeah, it's a big meh for me.
Yep, it looks like a lot of like wet herpes people. It looks really disgusting. So,
well, as opposed to dry herpes.
Exactly. Yeah, wet things always more disgusting. Have you seen wet people? They're all pruny and stuff. Have you ever like taken a bath and sit in it for a while?
I don't generally look at people taking a bath, so.
No, I'm saying you taking a bath and then you get out of the bath and you just look gross.
I don't take a bath. Also, I'm very beautiful. All right, don't you body shame me.
Pruny never looks good on anybody.
I don't know. Have you ever seen
Imagine
Raisins?
like Kate Upton, she's prudy. It's like, nah, dude. Did you just say raisins? Raisins are the most unappealing. Raisins look like nutsacks. I don't understand how that's an appealing like fruit.
Yeah, but they're supposed to look like that.
They're supposed to look like nutsacks?
Yeah, man.
because you tried to make something look like a nutsack means it's appealing. That's like truck nuts should be the most popular selling thing ever. Just because you tried to make it look like a nutsack, it's supposed to be popular.
They're pretty popular among certain communities.
Yeah, I live in Idaho. There's a lot of truck nuts. Not even joking.
I'm sure.
My brother has a pair of truck nuts. I'm not saying that I bought them for him as a Christmas present because I thought it was hilarious. But yeah, that's exactly what I did.
Oh, so you are saying that?
No.
Is that what you're...
The next news story is over on Twitter. That one is Just Shapes and Beats Hardcore Edition brings the action to PlayStation 4 this month. Just Shapes and
dope.
Beats are cool. Yeah. We've definitely agree on this.
We agrees.
It's like you catch on to every...
Oh, yeah. I'm always listening. It's okay. You can do it to me, too.
You're listening very intently for me to mess up.
People fuck up. I mean, it's quality entertainment.
And the last news story in News Cram is Risk of Rain 2 has already sold over 1 million copies in its first month. So they actually talk about in this article that I think it took them 5 years or something like that.
It's been in development for a long time.
Oh, no, what I was going to say was the first Risk of Rain, it took them like 5 years to sell 1 million copies. I'm wondering what has changed about Risk of Rain 2. Is it the fact that it's
3D?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Is it the fact that it's 3D instead of a 2D pixel platformer? Is it that it's published by Gearbox, which might have given it a little bit more notoriety? I don't know. I don't know what exactly is making it so much more popular.
Yeah, so I mean, I think for one, the 3D helps because a lot of people get kind of phased off from 2D. It's a more niche thing, I feel like, half the time, especially since roguelikes, it's easy to get kind of watered down. You have to have some unique mechanic in it. I think the 3D aspect definitely did help them, but one of the big things is really their marketing around it when they first came out. The fact that they were through Gearbox, the fact that they started giving it to streamers to play, to actually hype other people up, the fact that they did those different schemes, like having it for the first couple, I think it was 2 days. They did it where you can play with a buddy and you can buy the game for basically 50% for each, because it was buy it for $20.
Yeah, you got two copies.
Yeah, exactly. Buy it for $20, which is the full price, but get 2 copies. So they did a lot of smart things at the start, and they are actively keeping up with it. It's only been out for a month, but they have had a couple of patches that have been pretty meaningful as far as the reworks and rebalancing and changing the enemies. Specifically, one of them was the magma worm was a really annoying boss, which still is, but it's annoying in a different way that's a little bit better. They changed up a lot about the OP fire system in it that was killing people, and so they're really listening to the community and getting people engaged in it. So I think they're doing marketing in a very smart way, and it's a really fun game. It's there's something about playing the same thing over and over again but still feeling a different experience every time.
You know what's so weird is that 3D is it, like you said, 2D is more niche. It's it takes a special person to 2D.
Oh, thanks.
But 2D ages so much better than 3D. Oh yeah,
for sure. I mean, if you want to get serious, Risk of Rain 2 kind of looks like shit. I mean, it's I like the style to it, just because I've played it so much, but it's not gonna knock your socks off. There's a lot more you have to do in a 3D game to make it look appealing versus in a 2D game. You
know what really makes it appealing?
Pixel art.
This is pro tip here. No, if you want to make your game 3D and make it really appealing, triangle boobs. It's immediate seller.
Yeah,
it gets people.
Is that all it takes?
Yeah, it's old Tomb Raider games, best-selling games ever.
They were pretty good. I did enjoy them. They were clunky as fuck, though, if I'm going to be honest. But then again, most old games were, especially in that era. 3D was just a terrible time, if you want to be serious.
Yeah, it was a terrible time for regular shaped boobs. So it's time to move on to our last little segment of the podcast before we talk about a random question. And that is God Bless the Crowd. This is where Josh goes into all sorts of different crowdfunding sites, finds some indie games for us to talk about. Today we have Unbound. You explore beautiful handcrafted worlds by conjuring magic portals. Ooh. And Out of the Hat is an innovative puzzle platformer where you will be thrown in a bizarre world. Yeah, it looks like Alice in Wonderland. It's pretty interesting. So let's start off with Unbound. Unbound is a 2D platformer, and it actually looks really weird and cool at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this game, at least from what it seems, is going to be very heavily puzzle influenced. Because it doesn't look like you have any main mechanic on like attacking the enemies that are showing up. It's more of, like they said, conjuring those portals and changing it to a different world. I think it's really cool, just the little mechanics that you could potentially do with that, and the art to this is really nice. Like, I definitely like the way a lot of the worlds work or look, and the way the creatures, some of those like evil creatures, the spider ones, like they do look really creepy, and I think the art was done very well. But my concern with this is I feel like how much could you really do with this? Like, it looks like the mechanic is the same over and over again.
Yeah, you just open up a portal. I don't know if maybe you'll unlock abilities to like put the portal like further away from you, because it seems like you pretty much just summon the portal where you're currently standing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
and I see that there's certain mechanics where, like, based on the portal that you go through, you'll be able to interact with objects in different ways. So like you'll have to realize, which objects work in what terrain, but I still don't know how much that will really offer long term.
Yeah, this game looks really, really cool. I definitely agree that it looks like it may not have a whole lot of like long-lasting value. I don't know. It seems like between the two worlds, like using your portals, the things that might make it a little bit more interesting is the fact that there could be hazards on both sides and you don't know.
Right.
So it seems like when there's a hazard in, let's say, like the green world, you use the portal to the red world to like escape the green world to get past those hazards. But then, of course, there could be like a spider or a crazy like monster within the other world. So yeah, it's all kind of interesting. I mean, I'm excited to see how this turns out because, like you said, it does seem like certain portals will allow you to do certain things. Like it has a little gameplay snippet where it like speeds up your player character, so you can jump. Yeah, super speed. This portal allows you to run faster and jump higher. So you obviously get different kinds of portals, which I don't really understand how a portal to a different world would give you super strength, but I guess that's just me.
It's in the air.
Yeah, I mean, that one actually makes slightly more sense, specifically because like the amount of gravity that could be, but that's just me using science to explain a video game. But then there's like night vision, and I'm like, okay, that one doesn't make any sense. I don't get the night vision one. Okay, whatever.
I don't know, man. Specifically, the tiers aren't that bad, though. I mean, it's a $15 price point to actually get the digital copy from Steam, it looks like. I don't see any other console types. It looks like it's just Steam. But then, yeah, so if you put in 30, you get one extra key, and then you get other tier stuff. So the digital, it looks like an art book. A bunch of people are really using wallpapers lately. I've seen this in the last couple of runs where
it's weird.
Yeah, they keep using these exclusive Kickstarter wallpapers, and it seems so strange to me. These just popped up out of nowhere because I never used to see all these. It used to be just the like thanks, but now they're trying to like up the ante. But there's a wallpaper. I don't know.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan of like themes on my PlayStation 4 or like wallpapers in general. I just like I've had the same, like I switched between my background on my computer. I had a Shovel Knight one, and then I switched it to a pixelated Last of Us background, and I've had the same, like, the only two themes I've ever switched out on my PlayStation 4, which are basically just backgrounds. I have the Hob one on right now, but before that, I had Jump Jet Rex, which played a really annoying song, which I just thought was hilarious.
That's a game I need to actually play.
Jump Jet Rex?
Not that one. The Last of Us.
Hob? Oh, The Last of Us? You haven't played The Last of Us?
No, I have not.
I'm not going to judge you because I barely play any of the games I purchase.
What a fool. Yeah, a buddy of mine is going to let me borrow it, though, so that'll probably be the next thing I talk about next week.
It is a fantastic game. Did you notice that after you said that the tiers aren't that bad, did you notice that you have to pay $1,000 to get a figure?
I mean, I would
It's
never...
a limited edition 3D statue of Soli, the main character. Fuck off. That's $1,000.
I would never consider that, so it just wasn't even something I looked at.
That's just an excessive amount. So just to give you a little bit of knowledge on how much they're asking for, their goal is $25,000. They currently have 250 backers with 28 days left to go, and they have... the amount that they currently have is $7,968. I'm assuming they will get funded. They're decently along for only a couple days in. But once again, I always make these assumptions that they're only a couple days in, but they actually could have run like 60-day or 40-day, whatever.
No, I'm pretty sure this is a new one. So the only reason why I know specifically right now without looking at anything is because I check this pretty frequently. And this one is fairly new. I have not seen this one before. So I'm going to...
you check it at least once a week?
I'm going to... Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes more. But yeah, this is most likely a 30-day starting run. I don't know. Oh, I'll have to see because I want to see where it is next week to see if I think it'll make it. If there's a steady income through this, I think it deserves it. It looks really nice, and I think, like I said, for the mechanics of it, it'll be interesting. I hope that there are additional portals than the ones they're talking about in the description, and I'm sure maybe that'll come later, just because I don't know how the longevity of it will play out. But I mean, I still think it's worth the $15 if you're interested in it.
Yeah, it definitely seems pretty interesting. Our last game we have on God Bless the Crowd is Out of the Hat. So like I said, this one looks like Alice in Wonderland. It's pretty crazy. They have kind of an excessive goal. They want $56,000 and $56,021 is their goal. They have 27 days left to go and 103 backers. This one, it looks like they're shooting to get ports on the... I'm assuming that's Discord's like service. It has a weird like logo. The Nintendo Switch and Steam.
I'm trying to look. Sorry, I don't know where you found that.
It's like on their like trailer at the top.
Oh,
they have it in the top left corner.
Oh, yeah, I don't know what that is. That I guess that would be Discord, but that doesn't look like the Discord logo.
Yeah, I'm not 100% certain. I think I've just seen it before, and it might be Discord, but I don't see them clarifying anywhere, like in this, what it's currently on. So you're a big fan of Alice in Wonderland. Are you super excited about this? It's just a puzzle platformer, but it has that really interesting mechanic where you toss the hat and teleport to it. So it's kind of like how we there was the indie game Daggerhood that came out like I think last month or the month before, where you teleport to the dagger you throw. This one instead is you teleport to your hat, but your hat does not, you don't throw it straight. It actually has an arc like most grenades do in like third-person shooters.
Grenade hat.
Yeah, grenade hat. It's just going to blow up.
Yeah.
Turns out it's not a pixel platformer or a puzzle platformer. It's a third-person action RPG.
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't really like Daggerhead, to be honest, though. But this one looks interesting. I am, like I said, or I guess like you said, a fan of Alice in Wonderland, so I like the aesthetic to it and the style that they're going for. I don't really know much about it, though, because it's like the main premise is you're just this like girl who wakes up in a strange world, and so all you really see is a few clips of you running through and throwing your hat. like I'd want to see if there's actual like is there boss fights? Is this just exploration? Like, I don't know how this. I didn't really see anything about that. I feel like the mechanic of throwing the hat is interesting, but would get old really quick, which kind of goes into the same thing I was talking about for the last game we were talking about. Is I don't know. See, these type of games, like I enjoy platformers, but when it comes to the slower pace of platformers, where it's more like puzzle based, it always reminds me of like a Trine-esque game, and I'll play them, enjoy them for the first like hour or so, and then just really drop off halfway through because it'll just be more of the same. And I don't know, this feels like I would get the same kind of feeling to it halfway through. I don't know if I'm making myself clear on that, but it just seems like this would be something that I would like at first but wouldn't want to continue playing.
Yeah, it'll just get tedious doing the same things over and over again without necessarily challenge. Like games, all games are really repetitive, but as long as the gameplay loop is fun, it being repetitive isn't an issue. Mm-hmm. But if tossing your hat is like the only thing you get to do, that seems like it would get boring real quick.
Yeah, and it looks like they mentioned that there's going to be other parts of it, and this might be just me judging it too early, because that's the thing that kind of sucks with Kickstarters is you sometimes forget that Kickstarters are most people are all in different stages, but you forget because you'll see some Kickstarters that are so fully fleshed out that you expect that almost from a game, and it's kind of unfair because literally the point of Kickstarter is that they're trying to fund an idea, and this is just to get you into the mindset of like what it could be or will be. So maybe I'm judging it too hard or too quickly at this point because they have this one mechanic and they're saying that there's going to be additional things that they're trying to come up with. So it's obviously one of those things where I have to feel like, is the storyline or is the main portion that's been shown something more of what I would like? But at the same time, I don't know really. I haven't been sold on it just yet. This isn't like this isn't something I would back. I'd like to see it get back just to see what it becomes, because then I would fund it, later, as in fund it by purchasing the game if it was worth it. But right now, this wouldn't be something I would put my money into.
So I kind of wonder if there are like statistics about how many games that have like failed Kickstarters still end up coming to still end up actually seeing a full release, just not like not seeing like a finalized release kind of a thing. Like they didn't get to include everything they wanted to, but they got to include what they had already had done and a little bit more. I wonder if there's some sort of statistic on that.
I'm sure and I don't know about the statistic part, but I'm sure there's a majority of individuals who do, because like something like this is like a studio working on this. So I'm assuming that even if they don't get the funding, it'll just become something different. Maybe they'll cut back on certain areas and whatnot. But for projects where it's like, the 1-person, 2-person group, it might be different because, Kickstarters, like I said, they're all in different areas, all different stages of life, and all different individuals who are working on it. A studio versus someone's side project is going to be much different in the statistics of whether or not they continue, because obviously a studio has multiple people who are like, well, we still have to all survive, versus someone who's doing this as a side job might just be discouraged and be like, well, fuck it, no one wants it,
Yeah, that's very true. They have 17 members in their development studio. Not a number does the developers of this game.
Yeah, so that's what I mean is crazy. Like, I'm sure that they would still want to actually create this. It just might be a little bit different based on what happens. Also, I want that jacket.
Yeah, that jacket's really cool.
Yeah.
So, if you back like a Kickstarter for something that's like physical, do they send you those like immediately, or do they have to actually like meet their goal and then they send them out?
Well, they won't. Yeah, so if you buy something like that, like you put in the money to, what is it at? It's at, what price point? The price point doesn't matter. Anyway, so say the tier, you have to put in $60 or whatnot to get some physical thing. If
it's £80 for the jacket.
£80 for the jacket. Okay. Whew, that is an expensive jacket. Anyway, so if you pay the £80, you will not receive any jacket unless this hits its goal. So
yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, so it's the same. Like, it's the same concept of actually getting the game. If it does not make it to that 56,000 that they're asking for, nothing. It basically is like nothing ever happened.
All right, sweet.
But that's specific to Kickstarter. So like Indiegogo will have the option to set it in their campaign where they can say, no matter what, I'm going to take the amount of money that gets sent to me, and then it's kind of like a up in the air of like what happens after that, which is a weird thing.
Yeah, I guess that's what's kind of nice about Kickstarter is you actually have to have a successful campaign to accept people's money.
Right.
But then also you don't necessarily have to follow up with the product after that. You could just disappear off the map.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of shitty. Like, if you do that, you're a terrible person.
Yeah.
But you really never know. Like, there's sometimes, like, what was that one game we talked about where like years later they were like, oh, we're starting to work on development now.
Oh, it's like Project Phoenix or something. Fuck those guys.
Yeah, so like
they're in the final stages of development. I'm like, you haven't even started. Shut up.
Yeah, so you never know who you're gonna get, which is obviously the risk. So that's the thing is, like, with Kickstarter, it's an awesome thing, but there is a lot of risk to it. Like, you have to believe in the product and the person that's doing this. If not, you're giving your money away for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big risk reward thing. It seems like often enough games that get actual like launches after Kickstarters, they're released to some critical acclaim, or at least that might just be my knowledge of it because I play the games that like are critically acclaimed.
Yeah, I think that's a bias to the fact
that
that
definitely seems
you
like
only really
special.
know about the ones that get popular because they do get popular, and the others just kind of get swept under the rug.
Yeah, that's very true. I think it's about time we move into our random question of today. So, what I wanted to know, and this is because of kind of the I want to say fiasco, but I feel like that's a weird way to say it. Just the general vibe around Days Gone's reviews scores. So I want to know if you think that the games industry should have a central reviewing score system. So basically, I'm not talking about like how you brought up earlier before the podcast. You asked if I was talking about Metacritic. That is an aggregate site that takes all of the scores and puts them together to like, it's like, oh, okay, these are the scorings that it gets. So it has an accumulative like 80%, kind of like Rotten Tomatoes is an aggregate for different review scores. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, and this is just to explain for the listeners. I'm talking about.
I'm so dumb I forgot, and you have to tell me twice. I understand.
I'm talking about, should every site adhere to a specific system? That way, like, even if you hated the game, so let's say somebody liked Days Gone, somebody hated it. If you use the same system, you'd still get two different numbers, but it wouldn't be like super weird. So I have written reviews for two different sites now, and I'm three if I include the stuff I did independently. But I've written reviews for two different sites, and our review scaling system is completely different. Mm-hmm. So something I might have rated like a 6 for Handsome Phantom might have been like a 7 or a 4 or something like that. Whoa. For Parallax.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, no, that's just a random aside. That's not literal.
I think
it's roughly the same. But I was wondering if you think that we should, like, as an industry, create a review system that's all encompassing that we all use, but you're not necessarily like super limited to it. It's just like, okay, here are the guidelines. So if you think this game is total absolute garbage, like you should never play it, anybody who thinks that about a game, it gets a 2. So then it's like everybody understands that people who give that a 2 think that game's garbage.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
I should preface this, sorry to interrupt. I should preface this with saying I actually don't like review scores because I think they're really reductive. But that's kind of why I wanted to ask this question, because I hate how often reviews vary, and it's not because it's a subjective viewpoint. It's because review scores for each site are different. So that's it seems like that is a part of why reviews tend to fluctuate so much. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good point. I'm with you there of like being kind of against the actual number or like scores to a game because it does detract from the actual like unique like it puts every game on the same format, which is kind of the reason why I'm a little against standardization of scores, because what you do is you almost silence creativity in a way, because you're basically setting a standard that all games have to equate to this generic number based on a subset of rules. So granted, this is good in one way because yes, now people are on, for the most part, the same page. There's always going to be some variation because people are going to have their own different opinions on what each number means. As far as like to them it might be a little different, but that would be limited if there was a standardized scoring system. The only problem with that then is, as I mentioned before, you're squashing the creativity for different games because it's hard to state a score for games when there's so many different genres, so many different unique experiences that are coming out of video games. Like, try to compare what a 9 means on FIFA versus a 9 on, say, The Messenger. Like, they're not the same. They're not the same because there's different people that played it. There's different mechanics that are in it, and there's different styles and themes to these games, which I'm kind of just harping on the scoring system in general now, but it puts it in a weird perspective where I don't think a standardized rule would work. I think it might if maybe the major gaming sites decide to kind of team up on it, but then at the same time, I don't think they would ever do that because you're essentially
taking away their individuality.
Yeah, like it's like I said, you're taking away the creativity of what a review means. You're taking the creativity of what a score represents. And at the end of the day, I wish I could say we should just take scores out altogether, and then it would be, just descriptions of how a person experienced a game and whether or not they recommend that experience for another. But I'll be the first to also admit that if I'm looking at a game and I want to know about it, I'm going to look for that score because I'm going to base that on whether or not I want to buy this game. And as a consumer, it's super easy for me to go in and say, is this a good or bad game? IGN, Kotaku, Polygon, whoever I want as my main source, Parallax Media, you might go there and say, okay, they gave it this score. I trust those people. I'll, read up on their review, but because it already had that underlying 9, 8, 7, whatever it might be, I'm more willing to purchase that product. So although I argue against it, at the same time, I think it's good for the consumer in certain ways.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. The invention of review scores isn't bad. It actually kind of it helped the games industry because then their reviews were shortened from 5,000 words to 1,000 words, and a number can get across a lot about a game. But it also, the way that people started to the way consumers started to use those review scores is what kind of tainted it in a weird way. Because in my opinion, review scores are bad now, mostly because people see a review score and they don't know what went into that. They just see the score and they don't actually read the review. They're just like, all right, it got a 4, whatever. But it turns out that game might have been rated before patches came out, before stuff like that. So that's what I wanted to talk about with Elex. And the same thing happened with Days Gone. Apparently with Days Gone, some copies of the game were given to people several weeks in advance before any patches had come out. So people would play it and they would review it based on what they had played. And then when patches came out, they might have fixed some of the bugs that had been plaguing it that might have tainted the review scores, that might actually given it a leg up. So Colin Moriarty talks about how Days Gone might have been given a 6, but it might have been bumped up to a 7 if the reviewer had played it just maybe a week later. And I'm thinking that might have been what's happening with Elex, is Elex, when I played it, might have kind of sucked because it was super unbalanced, but maybe now it's getting positive review scores because they had fixed it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's a legit theory, because if IGN had given it that lower score, it would make sense, since IGN is one of the, the websites that will give out scores sometimes even before a game is actually released.
Yeah, depending on the embargo, it definitely does. I'm definitely not blaming like IGN for anything. I think they had a pretty like comprehensive Days Gone review, and I've listened to several different like spoiler casts about Days Gone, and it seems like pretty much everyone has like hit and harped on the same issues with the game, which from what I've heard, I would give it a lower score. But I also haven't played the game yet, so I never would review a game without playing it. But I'm not blaming IGN for anything. I'm just like bringing up that fact that like maybe there was something wrong with it beforehand. But yeah, I just wanted to know your opinion on like a standardizing review scale.
Yeah.
I really hate review scores. They really bother me.
Yeah, I definitely don't. I think it would be nice in some senses, but I don't think it would be good for the ultimate, path or direction for where the game industry is going. But kind of what we talked about brought up like another question is really, your point was more later, at least for the Days Gone piece. When is it like the right time to review a game? Like we're in a world where now games are evolving things. So like, is this something where a review, like it should have multiple review scores, like, post-launch, 6 months out of launch, like a year out of launch? Like we're getting into a weird spot where games have to be re-reviewed constantly, and now we even have like early access reviews. Like, it's a weird time because there's no standardization on that piece, which I think would help at least make it a little bit easier to, not like a standardization of it, of like you have to do it, but it would be nice to have more consistent rules or, guidelines on like how these medias follow certain games, because if I look at something like Fallout 76 now, it might be a little different than when it first came out. Well, I know it's a lot different, but it still might be bad, but it's not as bad. It's getting better, kind of a thing. So it's like, it's a weird place for a consumer who wants to get into a game that's evolving.
Yeah, something I also did want to bring up is like Metacritic by itself, I think actually like kind of is a detriment to reviews and like games in general, because it's an aggregate score and it can be really brought down by like one or two negative reviews. Like if you ever check out some reviews, like 4 people can give it 100, but then, or like let's say 10 people give it 100, which generally never happens, this specific scenario, but then somebody gives it a 4 and it tanks its review score. And it's just so weird. It's like uncomfortable. So yeah, I'm wondering, that was just a random aside with Metacritic, the reason that I don't necessarily like review aggregates. But another issue that might come up, and I don't know if this is true or not, it's just something I was thinking about. I don't know if Metacritic actually changes the review score. If you were to go and re-review Fallout 76 and give it a higher score, I don't know if they would change it. If they would actually like, so let's say IGN gave it a 6 or whatever, and then like a year later they re-reviewed it and gave it an 8. I don't know necessarily if Metacritic would change that 6 in their system to an 8, which means that game would constantly be known as a 6. Like anybody who looked it up would check Metacritic. I mean, I often check Metacritic, even though I'm basically just being a hypocrite because I don't like Metacritic, but I use it because it's just easier. But yeah, it would be like constantly tainted. It would have like a scarlet letter, even though now it's much better.
Yeah.
So I guess the easiest way to do this would probably be to check out like No Man's Sky's Metacritic rating, because if it's really good now, it would totally make sense because people have like re-reviewed it, and now the Metacritic score should be higher. But if it's still super low, it means that they don't update it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of why I enjoy like Steam, their review system, because they'll have their overall time and then they'll have their most like recent reviews, so it's basically like that last couple of like months or so.
Yeah, I do like that Steam does that as well.
Yeah,
I do like that it doesn't give it a number. It just tells you like a vague description. It's like like mostly positive or whatever. So you're like, oh, okay, people tend to like this game.
Yeah.
It's not just like 9, and I'm like, I don't know what a fucking 9 means.
It does technically give a score. Like if you hover over it, it'll show you a percentage. So it goes based on a percent of people who have rated it positively. And based on that, that's why if you look on like Google, when you first search for something, it'll have like, it'll say Steam and it'll give it like a 7 point whatever out of 10, and you're like, where's this number coming from? It does just take the percentage of positive versus negative and then puts that together, and that is what gives it the either positive, mostly positive, or whatever.
Yeah, it does actually have a percentage. I don't know, I just like the weird vague description of it because it's just straightforward.
Yeah.
It says mostly positive. I'm like, I get that. 7, I don't get that. Is that positive? Do you guys like 7s? Like, do 7s suck?
I mean, are you saying to me? Are you saying to Steam?
No, I'm saying Steam.
I mean,
specifically.
Steam,
because that's what I'm talking about. Is like nobody has the same review scale. So like, I have seen review scales where 7s suck.
Yeah,
like,
that is
they're
weird.
listed as bad games, and I'm like, but it's a 7.
I know. Yeah, it's
like 7 should mean it's like it's good.
I mean, it
or
is
something like a.
It is kind of weird though, because like if you think about it, like a 7, like if you're thinking about like school, you got a 70, you got a C, you fucking suck. Like,
I don't know if you suck. You're just you're
suck.
like moderate.
All right, you fucking
that would
suck.
be like
Fucking
okay,
degenerate.
you're good. You at least passed. C's get degrees, big boy.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, so do D's. So
no, they don't.
Sometimes.
I mean, in high school, once you get to college, that shit don't fly.
Yeah, that's true. And I guess you don't even. I guess D's get you diplomas. Haha. What's up?
I mean, lower end diplomas. Fucking scrub.
We're obviously petering out here, so I think that's a good time to end this podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you guys would like to check us out outside the show, you can follow me at Hyde Legion on Twitter, and you can follow Josh at _Jorsh90. Super fun to talk to us. Talk about how N64 controllers complete dog shit. We both agree on that point, that it makes you look like a crab. So that's a thing. Now I give a little bit of context asking you if they played with N64 controllers in your weird crab song, and now people understand. That was a delayed joke. It was like it was a very long fuse piece of dynamite, if you know what I mean.
For those who stuck around, you really benefited from it.
Yeah, you obviously like that one. You had to wait, but it definitely had to pay off.
Sometimes patience. It's it's a gift.
Yeah, it's a virtue. If you guys would like to check out our written content, or at least Josh's, you can pop over on Parallax Media. They're doing all sorts of cool stuff there. Josh just put up a lot of awesome interviews, and they're doing a lot of cool stuff over there. So make sure you guys check it out. You can, of course, check out our Twitter account. That's at IndiePod on Twitter. Super easy to find. Pretty much just tell you when the new episodes are up. So, yeah. I mean, you can follow me to do that, but I'm just super lazy with Twitter.
It's all good. We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
One day.
Make sure you subscribe to us on your favorite podcast service, that being Spotify, iTunes. We have Google Podcasts. You can subscribe to the Parallax Media YouTube channel. And, of course, you could check out the Podbean feed itself. That's it for us today. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.